How's it going, everyone? College Lefty, and in this video I'm going to be ranking the top 10 players at each position in MLB The Show 22, so let's go ahead and get right into it. At a few of these positions I am going to include more than 10 players, as we're starting off with the top 15 starting pitchers, or at least the top 15 in my opinion, and it's been a little bit of time since I made a video like this. And I tend to forget, a couple players here and there, so let me know in the comment section down below if you think I left out a certain player. I wanted to provide a variety of players as well, so we're not going to see the same person listed at multiple positions like I have done in previous videos. There are just so many different players that you can use. Some of these guys listed will be better on certain difficulties, and other players that are not listed will also be better than some of these guys on certain difficulties. These are just the players that I think would be at the A tier or the S tier, or I guess even, the top of the S tier, the best of the best cards. And you can mix these guys around a few spots, or at least, I don't think there's that much of a difference between maybe the number 8 guy and maybe the number 5 guy. Now, as you get into the top 3 of the list, those are the players that I think are, some of the best, or at least I've had a little bit of time to try a couple of them out. A lot of this list is personal preference, but we're getting into the relief pitchers. I really feel like Randy Johnson is still the best starting pitcher in the game. I think he'll be the best starting pitcher throughout the entire game cycle. Yohan Duran in relief pitching is pretty valuable to me just because of that 40 stamina. If you have him paralleled up to the 4th or 5th tier, he's definitely better when he has, better control. He has that 40 threshold for stamina. Even at parallel 3, he's really good. Obviously, parallel 5 is the best version of the card, but sometimes when you are parallel 5ing a certain guy, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Like Aroldis Chapman is going to play just as good at parallel 4 as he would parallel 5. Those thresholds aren't really going to adjust that much. 31 stamina is not that much different than 30 stamina. And if you're looking at, catchers, if you're not reaching an exact multiple of 5 for a specific attribute, then you're not really reaching that next significant difference within the threshold of the game, right? So what I mean by that is, like, if you start at 60, you can parallel 5 the card up to 65. But if you have a card that might be at like 88, he's going to play just as good at parallel 2 as he would parallel 5. The 93 to 90 is not that much of a difference as 95 to 90. I know that's kind of interesting to think about, but the game itself seems like it plays best every 5 attributes. You'll start to notice that difference, and it makes sense because those are certain thresholds in the game, and those non-active quirks that you're adding to players once you're paralleling them up to a certain tier, like for example from 74 power to 75 power on both sides, you're going to get a bomber quirk. Now that's not going to do anything for your player, but that player should hit a lot more home runs than if the power attribute was at 73. For whatever reason, that just seems to me how the game plays. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the game mechanics when I'm evaluating some of these players. And ultimately, I don't have all of these cards paralleled up to my ideal tier, but a lot of these cards are still that much better than some of the other cards in the game. But to get back on track with the rankings within this video, I started with starting pitchers, of course, and then I went into relief pitchers. We went through the catchers already and first baseman. Now we're looking at second baseman. So when the numbers reset, we'll be looking at shortstop next. I know that it could have been a little bit confusing while I'm talking about some other stuff within the game. But I'm using, some of these guys in their secondary position. Of course, you could put someone like Craig Biggio at catcher if you would rather have that guy over, maybe Johnny Bench or even Jason Kendall. I would probably put Biggio somewhere in the top 5 in terms of catchers. But ultimately, it's all personal preference. I like using Jackie Robinson. Some people might be using that Robinson Cano if they're able to complete the extreme program and things like that. As far as shortstop goes, I think there are still, a couple other guys you could even use over a few of those future star players, but those are just guys I like. Corey Seager, home run derby card, is still pretty good. I really like this Jorge Polanco. He's only a 92 overall, But this card seems to play way above his attributes. I forgot Noelvi Marte in the previous one. O'Neal Cruz was supercharged. He would have been at the top of the list. But I still think he's a top 5, middle infielder. You could also put him at third base if you want. Dansby Swanson, to me, has a better swing than most of these cards. I think he has a better swing than Anthony Volpe and Cal Ripken Jr., but I know people will also like to use Cal Ripken and Volpe, but Ketel Marte, to me, this is the best 93 overall card I've ever seen in MLB The Show's history, and that card is a 99 overall. He might as well be best shortstop by far in the game, at least for me. Now we're getting into some third basemen here. We have a variety of players. You could argue, a few other guys as well. I know some people might not like this Matt Chapman pick. I like Brett Beatty still. I think this card's a little bit better, even though he doesn't have, the maxed out defense. His lefty-lefty attributes are better than Matt Chapman's reverse split. So kind of just interesting. A lot of people still using Rafael Devers. Austin Riley, to me, is best at third, but you could also put him in the outfield if you don't have some of these outfielders on the list, or if you do have Josh Donaldson, you can't put him anywhere else. George Brett, to me, is still the best third baseman in the game. I like the fact that he's a good left-handed power-hitting third baseman. Now we're getting into some outfielders. We have Brian Reynolds at the bottom of the list, still a very good card. Vladimir Guerrero, Giancarlo Stanton. I wouldn't put him out there in the outfield personally, but I wanted to include him on the list because I still think he's usable out there. He's just too slow for me. But he's my go-to bench bat, probably the guy I go to right away every single time. I still think Bryce Harper, Roberto Clemente, any of these guys with maybe lower speed are still valuable out there, but they are better hitters than they are fielders. Al Kaline is a really good option, still 63 speed, a little bit slow for the top 5. We have Julio Rodriguez at number 4, Willie Mays at number 3, and I have adjusted this a little bit. Juan Soto might be the best hitter in the entire game, but I feel like Andrew McCutchen is the best all-around outfielder. But Juan Soto is not going to ever leave my lineup, I don't think. He's just way too good. And then I wanted to finish it up with a team update. So as you can see, I'm using a lot of these cards that I've listed in this video, and I could pick up some additional players. Like, my plan is to sell a lot of the 93 overall Takashi guys that I have, pick up Willie Mays, adjust my pitching staff a little bit. I'm still using a lot of guys from a long time ago, and there's just been so many cards released as of late. I haven't had a chance to pick them all up, but there's just so many options. I have a ton of options. At one point, I had almost every card in the game. But that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about my rankings in the comment section down below. Until next time, peace out.